Hey, good evening, folks. Tonight we're going to be just having a kind of an open forum of sorts. This is the week in review. The week in review. We're going to be talking about both Trump, the Trump side of the aisle and the Biden side of the aisle. Uh, what does the future entail? Are either one of these guys going to be on the ballot for 2024? Now, keep in mind, in regards to the week in review, the Biden administration had a pretty good week. For all of the discussion of how bad our economy has been, prices at the pump, the inflation is off the chain, and there's no denying that is true. This last past week for the Biden administration has had a fair bit of successes. In fact, the last few weeks have. Whether it's the assassination of bin Laden's number two man, the jobs numbers have looked pretty good. Fuel prices have been falling for almost 60 straight days. Listen, we can spin things any kind of way we want, and there's always a way to spin something from being good to bad or vice versa. But the Biden administration, for the most part, has had a good few weeks. Now we're going to talk about the Trump side of the aisle. We're dealing with yet another court case. Now we're dealing with Merrick Garland. And Merrick Garland is going to be adding in addition to January 6th, which is also going to be resuming in September, which is essentially next month. So we're going to be talking about both of these events. And we're just having a week in review. Now, looking in the comments, tell me when the gas is back at $2. And that's a good point. Can see that Sammy Perez. That's a good point that fuel certainly is not where it was when Trump left office. However, remember the phrase that you often hear? I would rather have some mean tweets and $2 gas, which essentially means, yeah, the tweets were mean, but I'll take those back if I could get $2 gas. What if gas is $2.50? Then is it still going to be a case where I'm willing to take some mean tweets as opposed to $2.50 gas? So I do agree that the fuel prices under Biden are still above where they were under Trump. But make no mistake about it, things are starting to fall. The economy, the prices and things like that, the inflation, it's bad, but it's certainly better than what it was. Gas is free where I'm at, Michael. I don't know where you're at unless you're sitting outside of a White Castle's where you're getting gas for free. Y'all keep talking about him all the time. The light source, when you say talking about him, talking about who all the time? Make no mistake about it, both of these candidates are constantly talking all the time themselves. So when you say that folks are always talking about Trump, for instance, what are you recommending? That they should just keep quiet when Trump is deeply involved in politics and talking about everybody else? Would it be something that you would prefer to just simply let Trump do all the talking about Democrats and for Democrats to shut the hell up about him? Is that your preference? Okay, look it in the comments. Taco Bell gives me free gas regularly. I was going to throw that in there, but White Castles is a better choice. Merrick Garland just gained 2 million net worth. Well, you could add that Trump gained a hell of a lot of money in his offseason as well. The Stop the Steal donations alone were $250 million. So if you want to talk about people gaining money, you'd have to throw him in there as well. That's why they want him gone, says Kevin Mitchell. My guess is there's a host of reasons. Trump is awesome, says user 261. Well, let's see what happens in 2024. You may get your awesome guy back into the box, or back into the box. Box is open, by the way. You may get your awesome guy back into the White House. And I see Alan also said Trump 2024. By the way, folks, I always appreciate you tapping the screen. Get your boy likes up. Make no mistake about it. This is a MAGA-friendly forum. My preferred audience is MAGA, so if you want to come in the box, I do not censor comments. I do not block anyone. So if you want to come in here, want to talk to your boy one-on-one, you can say whatever the hell you want. Tear me a new one. Tell me to go to hell, whatever. You know how we do it in here. Okay, and the box is open. We're going to go straight to the box. T, good evening to you, T. What's on your mind?
Hey, hi.
Howdy.
Just a quick conversation. Not gonna be on
Sure.
long. Got to get ready for work.
Sure.
Um, I used to be a Republican,
What changed you?
and what changed me was, well, pretty much it was Bush trying to clean up his daddy's mess.
Okay. So the war
It
in
was
Iraq,
also
essentially.
Iran Contra.
Well, the Iran Contra was Reagan.
Yeah, that put the seeds of doubt in there.
Okay. So you haven't been a Republican for a long time, then.
No, 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 no. I meant the second Bush.
Okay. Still, that's you're still talking Bush. The second Bush left office in 2008. So you haven't been a
Yeah,
Republican for quite a while, almost 20
right.
years, correct?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
What
That pushed me
what did
over
you?
to being an independent.
Okay. So, what did you think of the Trump administration? I mean, his economy obviously still looks better than Biden's. Did Trump not resonate with you at all?
I judge Trump more by over time. I didn't
Okay.
start getting turned off by Trump in 2016. That was more around the late 1970s, 1980s. Yeah,
You got wait a
I
minute.
know his history going back.
So you were turned off by Trump in the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah, it's not new. I knew his
Okay.
history as a real estate executive. I knew the shady deals he did. I knew his background. So when people
Wow.
came, oh, you just don't like him because you're anti. No, baby, I know his history. I'm not judging. Go
You
ahead.
know, the thing is, he had a pretty high rapport with African Americans before running for office. I mean, Sharpton, Jackson were hanging around him. I mean, he was pretty, even rappers and things like that viewed him as I can't, I'm not going to say the word hero, but they viewed him as somebody, as an idol. That's the word I'm looking for. They viewed him as an idol before he became president. But you're saying you already had a negative viewpoint of him.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry, but Jackson, after MLK, I never
Mhm.
held him in very high regard. And I'm sorry, but Sharpton was out for the ends. Come on. Now,
Okay. All right.
these are
Let
these
me ask you.
are again these
Okay. Let
aren't
me ask you.
grassroots people.
Let me ask it to you this way. Let's take Trump's personal life out of it. How do you think he performed as president, commander
Oh
in
no, no,
chief?
no, I'm going by his business. When they said it's
Okay.
good to have a businessman in there, I said he was a shiesty ass terrible businessman. So how y'all expecting him to run a country when he can't run businesses?
But you've seen him in office for 4 years. You've seen the economy and you've seen the jobs numbers under Trump and the unemployment numbers, which were not bad. If you had to give him a letter grade for the 4 years he was in office, not the 70s and 80s, for the 4 years he was in office, A, B, C, D, or F, what letter grade would you give him for those 4 years?
First year, I was willing to give him as a courtesy a B. I give everybody a
Okay,
B to start out. Then you're gonna
that's a
make or break yourself from there.
okay. That's not
He
bad.
was I was willing, but when he started with the Muslim ban, and then
Okay.
the people the we know those bad people coming across the southern border. Wait a minute, baby. Half of your people working in Mar-a-Lago are illegal. Don't play that game. Don't play that game.
So, so in other words, he was being hypocritical.
Yes, he was from Jump
Okay.
Street.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
And
So,
what
what do you
broke
think
me
about
in him
Biden?
back what would have managed to break him easy even with a D minus with me. If he had
Okay.
done what other presidents have done in crisis situations, go on television and say, look, we headed down a dark path. It's going to be tough. We're going to pull together as Americans. We are going to move forward, not bitching and whining from day one, lying to
So,
us
so obviously Trump is not in office right now. What letter grade would you give Biden then?
2 years in.
Yes.
I started him with a B.
Okay.
Uh, C. C
C.
minus.
All right. C minus. So okay. All right. That's not. I don't think that's being unfair. C minus is a little bit less than average. I don't think that's horrible, so to speak. So, what about the last past week though? You got you got a tale of two candidates. You know, whether it's
Mm,
Trump or Biden. Biden has had a lot of successes this last week. He's passed one of the
mm.
biggest, what do you call it, climate change bills in U.S. history. He's he killed rather, killed Bin Laden's number two man. And then obviously on the Trump side, he's dealing with Merrick Garland and allegedly bringing home confidential documents. How do you think? We'll start with Trump. How do you think this may affect him in the future? You think what's going on is going to actually benefit him or hurt him if he tries to run again?
Here's the thing. It ain't alleged because I heard
He
rumors
hasn't been convicted
I,
though.
no, no, I heard,
He
look at
hasn't
it
been
this way. I
convicted.
heard, let me put it to you this way. I heard rumors summer 2021 that documents had been taken and things that had left that were not supposed to leave. That's over.
Yeah,
That's a
but
year ago. That's a year
yeah, but
ago.
you
Okay.
yeah, but
So
you
I don't know.
there's rumors that Hillary Clinton did it. There's rumors on everybody.
No, 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 no. There are no rumors that she took documents out of the White House.
Yeah, you didn't
That
hear
did
about
not
the
happen.
server. Well, she didn't take
Servers
paperwork.
are not documents. Servers are not documents.
Well, if you got
Cheney had
confidential,
a
wait a
Cheney had
minute.
a server. I'm sorry, liberal. Cheney had a server. Rice admitted she had a server. Colin Powell admitted they had servers at home, and all three of them literally during the time when she was being investigated said, "We don't get what the fuck the big deal is. We got one at our house. We have
Okay.
servers."
Well, here's the rumor that she was breaking up servers with a hammer. Did you hear that?
I heard that she destroyed phones, but that's how they destroy phones.
With a
And they
hammer.
dump them in bleach. Yeah, like the CIA, the Secret Service just did. They destroyed their freaking phones. They didn't download them, though.
Okay, yeah, you may be hearing things a little differently than I'm hearing. And by the way, the difference between documents and in emails is not that significant. If you got copies of documents that are classified on your email server, I mean, all you got to do is push print, and it's the same thing. So I don't think there's a huge difference between documents versus emails. But I only brought Hillary Clinton up because you mentioned rumors. So
Mhm.
you do believe Trump is guilty of bringing home classified information that he should not have had.
Let me put it to you this way: if boxes are in your house, do they just fly themselves into your house by themselves?
What about the idea that he said he had declassified this stuff and it was harmless? He didn't do anything wrong.
What president has ever taken documents to their home by the box load? We've been around almost 300 years. Ain't no president ever tried this crap. Ever.
Well, I don't believe that. I mean, I
Who?
do believe that even President Obama had stuff sent to the federal offices in
Archives.
Chicago. I mean, I don't
Archives.
believe.
Archives, not his
Right,
home.
right. Yeah, okay. I
That's the
won't argue
difference.
with that. I won't argue with that. Okay, so what do you? So if you believe he's guilty, you believe this guy should be locked up for this?
Uh, I believe that since some of these papers supposedly have names of spies who are currently working around the world in our best interest, that
Right.
shit is a major, major transgression. You don't get a pat on the head for that shit.
All right, T. I get your point. Okay, I got to move it on, but I got one last question to ask you. If you believe that he is guilty of bringing these documents home, my last question to you is, why do you think he would have done that? I mean, did he have a plan with these Why does he have this stuff in his house? What was the purpose of this?
See, that's the weirdest. I have asked people on my lives, why would you take business documents to your house when you no longer work there and they're sensitive documents? Why on earth? And I could not get a single person that would give me a logical reason to take documents from a previous job that are this sensitive. I work in the medical field. I would not begin to think of taking your medical file home to my house after I quit my job or I lose my job.
Any chance it could have been by accident?
27 boxes?
You got me. All right,
A
T.
folder,
All
folder,
right.
folder. Dude. Here, a folder. Okay, I misplaced it. I put it in my suitcase. I put it in my carry-on. Damn, didn't know I had this. Oh my God, let me say 20 something boxes.
All right, T. I got to move it on. You got me on that. 27 boxes would be hard to see by accident. Appreciate you coming through.
Love you.
Good
Have a
stuff.
great night, guys. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Welcome back anytime. Okay, looking at the comments, T 27 boxes, like she said, is it possible to bring 27 boxes home by accident? I don't know if I've ever done it, but I'm going to go right to the box. Supreme Court, 2007. Sounds like a new viewer to the program. The box is open. Folks, 5,000 likes like I normally do. Tap your screen. My Patriots out there. This is a MAGA friendly audience. MAGA is generally my preferred commentators, but I take all folks. Liberals are welcome as well. Supreme Court, what's going on this evening?
Not much. What's going on with you?
Nothing at all. So we're kind of doing a week in review because both the Biden administration and President Trump himself has had a lot of major news over the last week, if not month. So I guess the first question I'm wanting to know in regards to President Trump, you think this is a witch hunt on him?
I'm not sure. I'd like to see the outcome of it. Um, I hold the position that we should absolutely interrogate anybody in a position of power under microscope, but clearly he's not in a position of power, and it's looking like a future run is the position of power that is targeted. So that's a little questionable.
So when you say a position of power is targeted, do you mean that they expect him to run and they're targeting his ability to be able to run, like trying to prevent him from running?
So 100%. That's
Okay.
that's
So that
that's
so that would
exactly
lean
that.
that would lean towards that would lean towards a possible witch hunt though, right?
Oh, for sure. Like if
Okay.
we're talking about like a witch hunt on opponents, yeah, that would.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
In other words, it's not really a true case or anything that's of any major issue. They just want to do this so they can technically stop him from running.
I don't know what their intentions are, but I look at it like anybody in a position of power should be targeted for scrutiny, and
Mhm.
I don't this is unprecedented, and I haven't seen this. I mean, if this happened to
Well,
Obama, clearly this would be like a witch hunt against him, and things have been that way. I think we
well,
should
if, let me
absolutely
I'll
we
ask
should
you this since you brought up Obama. Let me ask you this, and you give me your own opinion, and we'll continue. But when they were suggesting that President Obama, to prevent him from being president, was born in Kenya, do you believe that could be considered as a witch hunt as well?
yes. So I'm going to choose my words carefully. So
Sure.
yeah, that was obviously in the mainstream media suggested as a witch hunt, but I don't think it was wrong, and I don't think that necessarily Trump's raid is wrong. I'd like to see the outcome of it, but I think we should scrutinize people in positions of power greatly.
Well, but okay, you're saying you don't think that suggesting that Obama was born in Kenya, which Trump himself was doing, you're saying you don't think that was wrong, even though he was doing that with no actual evidence of it being true. You don't see a witch hunt in that at all?
No, I said I do see a witch hunt in it.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
But it needs to be once it's raised, I think it needs to be disputed quickly, and I think that it's important that we challenge people, everybody in positions of power. Like, I
Okay.
don't understand why people are so blindly following Trump or so blindly following Biden. Like, let's scrutinize them. They're in positions of power, they work for us, and we need to scrutinize them.
All right, that's a fair point. I don't see any issue with scrutinizing someone that's in power if you think there's any issues with them. So, um, in regards to President Biden, do you think that some of the positives that have happened over the last week or so, do you believe that that is helping them? Because remember, there's supposed to be a red wave in a couple months. Do you think that this may have an effect on maybe reducing the size of that wave?
What positives? I mean, I'm not trying to be
Well,
ignorant.
well, okay, fair enough. Capturing, killing the number two Bin Laden guy, killing a major terrorist is certainly a positive. The jobs numbers that were just released were far better than what they expected. The unemployment numbers are down to 3.5%, which is actually better than Trump. And Trump had some of the best unemployment numbers in decades, and he beat Trump. You didn't hear about any of these things?
No, I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I
All right.
live
Well,
I live in a small town where
okay.
unemployment is a huge issue. So
Okay.
we're still battling that. Gas
Okay.
prices are high. I
Uh-huh.
like to think that it's because of Russia and Ukraine, and I like to pay my fair share at the pump to think I'm supporting that. But I also have doubts about what we're doing to combat that, and Biden's position on um, you know n-
How
more
do you feel
natural.
about, okay, we've sent tens of millions, I believe 80 million or more to the Ukraine. You mentioned paying at the pump to do your fair share. So you totally support Biden helping the Ukrainians?
I wouldn't say totally support. I think in the beginning, I saw it as an attack on a country similar to ours, and I thought like we should be involved. And when I was at the gas pump and seeing the prices rise, I kind of was like, well, we got to do this. But in terms of what we can do at home to reduce those gas prices, I don't think he did. So I was
Okay.
also upset about that.
So do you blame Biden for our current gas prices, how high they are?
I would say like 80%. Yeah. I know that
That's a, yeah.
there's been talk about how, people aren't drilling for whatever reason, and he's given the okay to drill, but they're not drilling. But, he's shipped our supplies overseas. He's a big part of it. And if Trump was in power, I think that they would have that same criticism of him.
So you don't buy into the notion that if Trump was in power, our economy would be in a better state right now.
I think in terms of economy, I think yes, the economy would be better if Trump was in power.
You think the gas prices wouldn't be as high as they are and things like that, right?
I I have no idea what Trump would do in terms of that conflict, so I can't say that. I know that he's um, perceived as like a loose cannon in those situations, and
How
who
do you
knows what.
perceive them? How do you perceive them?
So personally, I right now,
I mean, you said Trump is perceived as a loose cannon. I'm asking you, do you see any validity in someone seeing him as a loose cannon, or do you think that's just made up?
I think a little half and half. When I voted for him, I was very ashamed to have voted for him, and I voted for him for
Wow.
very specific reasons. But as soon as Biden was elected, I decided that all those reasons that I was ashamed of voting for him were null and void.
Give
Because
me give me a reason that you voted for Trump. I mean, after voting for Trump, give me something that made you ashamed originally before Biden. What made you ashamed that you picked Trump?
the mainly the sexual abuse allegations, that was a huge deal. His involvement with like different people that have been accused of sexual abuse, like that was a huge deal for me
Do you
personally.
think there's any? Okay, with all of these folks, and there has been a significant amount of women that's accused Trump of sexual abuse, and you're talking about also maybe possible ties to Epstein. But do you think there's any validity? Do you think Trump is actually, do you think he's culpable of any of that?
I'm not sure. But
Okay.
as soon as Biden was voted in after having all these accusations against him and being a creep. I was like, well, why was I embarrassed
Wait,
for
wait, wait.
so long?
Who's made accusations against President Biden? I mean, has anybody found any or tried to allege any sexual assault against Biden?
I mean, have you seen like the videos of him like smelling young girls and like calling
Well,
them pussy?
yeah, but I'm talking about the girls themselves. I mean, obviously, if you become president, the other side of the aisle is going to create memes and things like that. But I'm talking about from the girls themselves, not the right wing taking pictures of. I mean, the girls in those pictures are not filing any charges against him.
So the girls in those pictures and videos were
Yeah,
minors.
but they have
Yeah.
moms. They have parents that could file charges if they thought their
Well,
children were abused.
okay, so just for a second, those parents were in positions of power and would probably be fearful of retribution if they came forward. So I think that's kind of like an unfair. I mean, we're looking at actual videos and pictures of him being inappropriate. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. He was being inappropriate. And the parents were people in positions of power that might fear retribution. I mean, this is like a common thing that happens in abuse.
So
So
you're saying they essentially sold out their kids?
no, I think they thought that that moment was over and they would never put them in a position like that again and they were going to
Okay.
move on with it.
So what I'm trying to find out. Okay, so you do believe that Biden may have essentially assaulted children.
I don't know if he has assaulted children, but he was extremely inappropriate with them for sure. I've seen that
Okay.
firsthand.
All right. Okay. So I get it. I mean, what you're saying is not necessarily. I mean, it's fairly unbiased. You thought Trump, with his accusations, you were ashamed of voting for him, but then you get Biden in there, and he has accusations as well. Okay. So in 2024, would it be safe to say, considering that both of these men have had accusations that have turned you off to them, would it be safe to say that you would rather neither one of them run again?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Like I said, I appreciate the unbiased viewpoint. So, all right, I'll move the program on then. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. You have a good one. Okay. And like I said, folks, I like a good unbiased point of view, and the lady had one. I have a different viewpoint on the accusations made against both of these guys, but I'll reserve that. We'll go straight back to the comments. The Podfather Show. I like the name. Good evening to you,
Hello,
sir. The Podfather Show.
long time listener, first time caller.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on. What's on your mind this evening? We're taking a week in review in both of these gentlemen. What do you think? What's on your mind this evening?
Well, I mean, I agree with a lot of what's been discussed from both sides of I guess the aisle, if you will. But
Okay.
I would like to start that myself. I didn't like President Trump before he ran for president. Before he ran for president, he was just the real estate mogul that he is. I actually thought he was kind of a narcissistic douche tool myself. I didn't like him. I mean, I didn't like his shows.
And
I
that's
mean,
changed. Do you think in 2022, now that he served 4 years and is out of office, do you still see him as narcissistic?
um, it's hard. That's hard to say. I'll follow up by saying I do like him now. I'm not
Okay.
crazy about him as a person. I do think he spouts a lot of stupid shit once in a while. I mean, but you know, but we all do that. But as far as him being narcissistic, it's hard to call someone a narcissist when it's clear by their actions that they are interested in the betterment of the entire country as a whole. I mean, that's not something a narcissist would do. But at the same time, he does seem kind of full of himself, but that could be a lot of arrogance and pride, which, there might be a fine line there between arrogance and narcissism, but the line does exist nonetheless.
Okay, so let me ask it to you this way. When he started calling sitting senators and Congress in generals these nicknames, Pocahontas, Crazy Bernie, Nervous Nancy, do you think that shows as you say, a love of the country, trying to put the country first. Do you think that that is beneficial to the nation to call a lot of our leaders by these personal nicknames?
I think it shows weakness,
Weakness from.
just from a personal standpoint. And I say that because I don't want to be a hypocrite myself, because I often tell Democrats that when they have to resort to using personal attacks and insults in their debates and arguments, that shows that their argument itself is weak and they have nothing intelligent to respond with. So they resort to, stupidity and ignorance, by name calling and personal attacks and things like that. And
Okay.
and I really think
So when
that that's a weakness, a personal weakness.
so when Trump starts calling folks by nicknames, you think that he's showing signs of personal weakness?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's
I do.
interesting you would say that, because most folks, my MAGA audience, the MAGA side of my audience, tends to believe that Trump was often showing a position of strength compared to all the other leaders. So that's really interesting that you would find. So you don't agree with that at all. Then you think that's a bad idea to have a president using these names?
I mean, at least to the degree that he did. I mean, it was norm for him, if you will. That, I mean,
Yeah.
he's got a bag of go-to tricks, and it seems like, two out of four of those bag of go-to tricks was an insult. So it's.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean he's weak as a person. That doesn't mean that he's not good at what he does. It just means that oftentimes his argument is weak.
Do you think the names stoke division at all within this country?
Oh, of course they do. Of course
Okay.
they do. Yeah. I mean,
So
the
if you
same as,
think that,
when the Democrats do it. Yeah, Stokes
right.
division. Yes.
Fair point. So in other words, if you believe two out of his bag of tricks, two out of four of those things are going to be name calling, do you think he would be a suitable candidate to put back in office in 2024, knowing he's going to do this again, with you admitting that it's Stokes division?
We're going to have division regardless. Now, I understand, that the first argument that's going to be made against that comment is why add more. I get it. But as the Democrats like to use the argument all the time, the lesser of two evils. They love that argument. They
Right.
voted for Biden because he's the lesser. So, when you use that ideology against them, and this not, in this perspective, you can say that the benefits that Donald Trump brings with him to the economy as being president outweigh those name callings that he does, which in reality, other than just division, which is already there, doesn't hurt anyone. I mean, everybody
Okay.
has the ability to ignore names. We all have the ability to.
Okay, so, and I agree with you. Everybody, you're 100% correct. Everybody does have the ability to ignore names. However, it doesn't appear that that is happening. Certainly when you have, and I want to get your opinion on this. Certainly when you got the FBI in 2017 suggesting that Trump's rhetoric is what's causing white supremacy, terrorism, domestic terrorism acts to take place in this country. How do you view that, with his own FBI saying that the biggest existential threat to America is white supremacy?
Well, that's nonsense, because white supremacy existed before Trump became president. It's nonsense.
So why do you think the FBI would just come out and say that?
Well, for one, I believe the FBI is corrupt, and I do believe that they're playing sides and bias and favorites. I mean, we're talking about the same FBI organization that burned to death innocent children in Waco, Texas. We're talking about the same FBI organization that allowed one of their own agents to marry an ISIS fighter. We're talking about the same FBI organization that planted a mole to find a mole within the FBI, and the mole they planted turned out to be a mole. I mean, their competence level isn't the strongest to begin with.
Okay, all right. So that would lead me to ask you a follow-up, which is, when Trump came to power in 2016, he promised to drain the swamp. Why did he not fix all of this stuff you're talking about within the FBI? Why didn't he do anything about this? Because clearly it still exists, according to you.
Yeah, well, think of it like this. Why aren't the names in Ghislaine Maxwell's list being dropped? Because everybody's a player. Now, when you go into a government that everybody on both sides can agree is corrupt, and you're the only one trying to drain that swamp, it's hard to drain the swamp when literally everybody that's in that government to some degree or another would end up being affected. Nobody's going to allow that to happen. That's one reason why JFK was assassinated, because he was the
Well,
only one trying to do what's right.
I don't disagree with you at all that it would be extremely difficult to do, which leads me to ask the obvious question. If you know it's going to be very difficult to do, and I know it's going to be very difficult to do, why the hell would Trump promise to do it?
Because every once in a while, someone comes along that loves what our country was founded on, the beliefs and everything that it stood for and was supposed to stand for, that they try. Sometimes it costs them their life. Sometimes, they might be minorly successful. Most of the time, they got the entire system fighting against them. But there's some people that believe in trying against all insurmountable odds. And that person was Trump. That person was JFK. I mean, they try, but there's very little they can do when the entire system is against them.
Well, and I get that, and once again I agree with that as well. But I'm just going to simply say this: when it comes at the end of the day to how we judge a politician while they were in office, nobody gets any credit for it trying. You either fail or you succeed. Remember, this is an age of no participation trophies. That's what me and my MAGA audience, we do not like participation trophies. So, in other words, he failed at that. Would you not agree that when it comes to draining the swamp, he failed at that promise?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't think he realized just how deep that swamp was when he made that promise.
I'm just trying to give him a pass. Yeah, I agree, but I'm just trying to give him a pass or fail. I'm not trying. I understand what you're saying. He may have not understood it, but I'm just simply asking pass or fail. Drain the swamp. Which step would you give him, pass or fail?
Well, no, obviously he didn't succeed at that. I don't think he understood how deep the swamp was.
Okay. Just one, I mean, because one of his mantras is promises made, promises kept. So drain the swamp was one of his biggest promises. So clearly you're admitting that is a promise made that was not kept.
Well, from another perspective, though, the swamp was exposed. We now see more corruption within our government than we've ever seen within U.S. history. It's always been there. But now we know who the key players are. Now we know the level of corruption. I mean, all these things have come to light because of Trump. So there is, in a sense, a certain degree of success in the things that he's done as well.
What about the idea that most of the folks testifying against him in the January 6th hearings were his own personal appointees, like Attorney General Barr and things like that? Most of the folks that testified against Trump would not even have had a job in the White House if it was not for Trump. So would it be safe to say that some of the swamp creatures were actually appointed by Trump himself?
I would say it's safe to probably assume that, that goes back to the follow the money saying that there's been a lot of people paid off. In the hearing, over the election, where Mike Pence, vice president at the time, was up there, on deck, if you will, with Nancy Pelosi. Immediately after the hearing, a lot of people don't watch or haven't seen the full video where it cuts off after, the quote unquote Democratic victory. But if you watch the entire video, you can actually see Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence elbow bumping, like the equivalent of fist bumping, like, wow. Hey, we did it, wow. Type bump, like a brotherly bump, we did this.
Wow.
And a few seconds later, another known Democrat, I forget his name, but he's high up in the Democrat Party, comes up to Mike Pence, pulls a medallion out of his pocket, like a coin type medallion, hands it to Pence. Pence looks at it, and this is all on camera in those hearings. It's the aftermath of the trial. The cameras are still rolling, and then he motions for Pence to put it away, and Pence put it in his pocket immediately afterwards.
So you think,
hey, you don't want people to see this? Put it in your pocket.
Right. I get your point. And you would understand that the only reason Pence was part of the Trump administration is because Trump appointed him as vice president as well, correct?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they can't be bought off.
Right. I understand all of the bought off, or they may have had other, they may have had nefarious plans. But the point I'm trying to make to you is, in addition to promising to drain the swamp, Trump also promised to appoint the best and brightest, to surround himself with the best and brightest. And what you're saying is that he actually surrounded himself with a whole bunch of people that were corrupt and could be bought off. So my question to you now is, when he promised to appoint the best and brightest, pass or fail, how would you stamp that?
Have you ever known any politician that wasn't corrupt?
Trump is not a typical politician. You can't use him in the
Right,
same argument.
but you're asking about all the other politicians that he did appoint. They were politicians. And you're asking, well, why would they have done this if Trump appointed them? And I said, and my response was, have you ever known any politician that wasn't corrupt?
No,
Some
that's
more
a
so
great
than others,
question.
but
No,
they're all corrupt.
that's a great question, and that's why I'm responding to you by saying we appointed Trump because he was not a typical politician. So we appointed somebody that we would not have to
Right.
compare to politicians. So I'm asking you, when he suggested he was going to appoint the best and brightest, did he succeed or fail at doing so?
I mean, they may have been the best and the brightest, but that doesn't mean they're not capable of being bought off. I mean, again, maybe I had to reiterate that and word it a different way.
So you think the best and brightest are capable of being bought off? The best person you could appoint is still capable of being bought off. You can't find somebody that is not capable of being bought off?
Not unless they already have money, like Trump.
Okay. All right. So I got to part ways, but before I let you go, do you think Trump would be the guy to put in 2024? Do you think he's the best man for the job to be put back in office in 2024?
As of that have thrown their name into the arena as of right now, yeah, absolutely. I would also like to see DeSantis up there, for that ticket as well. DeSantis, shares a lot of the same ideologies and goes in the same direction that Trump does, but he's much better spoken. But that being
What if
said,
DeSantis? That's a fair point. What if DeSantis decided, even though Trump wants to run, I think I am better to lead the Republican Party, and he ran also, and you had to choose between DeSantis or Trump to lead the Republican ticket? Who would you choose personally?
it will depend on the world stage at that time.
What if it was today? What if it was today? If it was today, right now, who would you choose?
If it were today, it would be Trump. And the reason for that is because all of the other world leaders right now, they don't play by the rules. They don't play fair. They're bulldogs in a dog arena. And you think
okay, and you think that may change by 2024? Because I asked you, and you said, well, it depends on the world stage. You think that not playing by the rules is going to change in 2 years?
Who knows? I'm not a psychic. I'm not a fortune teller. I've never claimed to know the future. It could. Do I think it's realistic? No, but it could. It could change by then. You don't put a poodle in a mosh pit and expect it to win.
Okay. Do you buy into the argument that they were after Trump from day one?
Yes.
Do you believe that also made it difficult for him to accomplish anything when he's constantly dodging impeachments and investigations?
That's exactly why it made it complicated for him to accomplish anything. Not on top of doing his daily job, he also had to tackle and juggle constant, day after day after day, accusations and threats and finger pointing and name calling. I mean, he had all this stuff is on his plate. So the fact that he was able to juggle everything the Democrats were throwing him and still accomplish anything is a miracle. So he's
let me ask
obviously
you
good at what he does.
Okay, fair point. And I'm only asking you because I've heard that from my beloved MAGA audience. I love talking to MAGA. That's not an issue, but I've heard that's a common theme is that they've made it hard for the guy from day one. So I guess the question I would ask you is this: if you get Trump in 2024, after already admitting that it is difficult for him to accomplish things when people are after him from day one and putting him under multiple investigations, if he gets in office in 2024, what are the chances that people will be again after him from day one and putting him through multiple investigations, making it difficult for his administration to achieve their goals?
Well, they're still after him now, so it's 100% guaranteed that they'll do that. But
so you want to reelect the guy?
He's
Right.
already
So
proven he
if
can
you're
handle the heat in the kitchen.
right, well, you just stated that he did not get as much accomplished that
But
he
the
would
fact
have
that
if
he
you weren't going through
accomplished,
this.
the fact that he accomplished anything on top of what they were throwing at him, I couldn't have. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish anything other than constantly
Okay.
dealing with the nonsense and the asinine arguments and accusations. So the fact that he's able to do that, he's leaps and bounds better than I am.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
mean,
Fair point.
any Republican they put in office, they're going to come after him. So why
All
not put
right.
somebody in that's already proven they can handle the heat in the kitchen?
Okay. All right. Well, you may get him. Appreciate you coming through, Podfather. It was a good talk. You're welcome back anytime, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely a pleasure. Okay. Look. Looking in the comments, I'll go right back to the box real quick. You guys can make 10,000 likes happen, can't you? All these patriots out here, you know I love and respect MAGA, even though we disagree. Put you guys on, let you state your point. There is no censorship here. You will never be blocked or banned for anything. And when I say anything, I mean not a damn thing that you say here. Unless TikTok. I can't control social media. I have no effect over the hierarchy. But yours truly, your humble correspondent, anything you say here, folks. Come on in. State your point. Let me see here. Triple one. I didn't see there's a but let me bring you on this, sir. Good evening to you. Have you been listening to the program? What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, sir. I was with you the other day. Sorry, I was at work. The plant noise was just too loudy, and then you had to let me go. Um, I spoke about the Mar-a-Lago raid, where
Yes.
I had a theory, or the way I thought or think it's going down right now is um, uh, that I think Donald Trump did not fail by draining this swamp. I think he's still taking another dig at it. He's taking another shot at it, and
Okay.
that's what they're after. I think he has um, another smoking gun or a bigger smoking gun that he's gonna point at him this time, where their documents, or because the first time they got rid of Jeff Epstein, this time they got rid of what's her name, Ghislaine Maxwell, and they put her away, and they silenced that no trial. The
You're
trial was.
giving you're giving President Trump credit for getting rid of those child sex offenders. You're giving Trump credit for that.
No, 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 no. I'm not giving him credit for getting rid of them. I said he brought light to it through them. Like he well, when the 20, what was the last election, 2016, 2020, I'm sorry.
2020.
Yeah, 2020. That's when the Jeff Epstein thing all surfaced, right? Like around that time.
I don't remember. Okay, let me interrupt you to say this. You started out by saying you don't think Trump failed when it comes to draining the swamp. Give me some swamp creatures that President Trump, number 45, drained while in office.
No, I said he did not drain anybody, but I think he's still going at it. He's still going about it.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
but he had after 4 years, the best you can say is he's still going at it. You can't give me anybody from after 4 years in office.
oh no, I'm not saying that he succeeded. I'm saying he's still in the process of trying to drain. He's still trying to drain the swamp, and he did not drain it. He did it. He failed
Well,
basically.
if you can't name one, so far it's a failure. You're saying it may be an 8 year process as opposed to four. I get that, but
Oh
based on the first 4 years, you're saying so far it has been a failure. He has not drained anyone.
no, he 100%. He did not succeed. He's still trying. He's still in the process of trying. So he's still trying to, which I think is trying to drain the swamp. He failed with Jeff Epstein. They got rid of him as soon as as soon as they can. I think he's the one that brought him to like the Jeff Epstein to like. You said the other day that Trump could be in on it, and he could have he was with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeff Epstein. He was a client with them, and there's a possibility he could have they could have provided him children and whores or whatever. Yeah, 100%. But the thing where
All right,
he
let me ask you. I'm gonna let you finish. But I want to ask you one quick question. What do you think of the Biden economy, real quickly? Right now, up to now, he's been in office 2 years. What do you think of how Biden is doing right now?
the economy, all due respect, I think it's trash as far as the
Okay.
economy.
What letter grade would you give him? And there's a reason I'm
Uh,
asking you this.
a C, a D,
Okay.
yeah, D.
Do you think he's worthy of being reelected?
Not really.
Okay, the reason I asked you that is because when I asked you about Trump draining the swamp, your response was after 4 years, he's trying. So what if we said Biden is worthy of being reelected because even though the economy sucks right now, he is quote
Mhm.
unquote trying? How would you view that statement?
Yeah, I mean, you could, yeah, but you could be right. But see, this is the thing. As far as economy, and that's there. I think there are two different things where you could say economy is more. I mean, it has more to do with people's lives. So I mean, you had Trump where he had 4 years to try and make the economy, as far as the economy, and he succeeded at that. I mean, the economy was a whole lot better than it is now.
No, that's
With
not
it,
that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that anybody, any politician could use the phrase after they failed at something is that I'm trying and give me more time. Anybody could use that, right?
yes,
Okay, that's all. That's
yeah,
the
but
only
as far
point I'm trying to make.
exactly, but as far as draining the swamp, I think he wants to do it in the right time where instead of just draining the swamp, you know what? Let me drain the swamp and bring it around election time where I could look better, look good, and also win the election and and drain the swamp at the same time.
I mean, that I would say
That
that's a
that's
great.
my honest opinion. I think that
Yeah.
he has something very dangerous, very important that's in those safes or in his possession that has the FBI shaking in their boots and the politicians where they're after him at this level. Uh, he also spoke, I think, a while ago where I heard a audio of him speaking on getting rid of the deep state. So obviously the FBI
Wait
too
a minute.
is
Wait a
not.
minute. Let me ask you. Let me ask you this. This is something when I hear from my MAGA folks, I always want to know what exactly is the deep state. I hear that all the time. Could you clarify that for me?
I think that's a sect in the FBI where it's 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 used by politicians or it's like they're uh separate sect where they get their dirty work done or you can't say no to them or he goes more into depth about the deep state
Hmm.
where they're somewhat above the law.
So you believe that a certain sect of the FBI is loaded with deep state members?
No, not the FBI.
You just said the FBI.
No, a sect like a sect of the FBI where
Right.
they use
Part
them
of
for
the
the deep
FBI.
state. Yes, a sect.
Part of the you believe that part of the FBI is the deep state.
I would say I wouldn't know what to label them as. I just would say a sect of the FBI. Yes,
Okay, so my question to you would be when Trump took power in 2016, from 2016 to 2020, he was in control of the executive branch, therefore the FBI itself. So is it safe to say that Trump himself has been in control of the deep state?
that's where he spoke. That's the reason he spoke against them is because he said they were never on board with him or not always on board with him. No, sorry, but like at most times they would not be. They would stop him from doing certain things. You know, they weren't most of the time on board. They would either just like more like give him orders instead of you know.
So so Trump was in control of the deep state for 4 years, but they weren't cooperating with it. He was trying to get the deep state to work for him, is what you're
Exactly.
saying.
They were
Okay.
not cooperating.
Okay, so in other words, the deep state are not bad people. They just wouldn't cooperate with Trump because when he took power, they were still there. I mean, that's what you're telling me, right? Trump was in control of the deep state for 4 years.
I wouldn't say in control of them. No, they have their own. They have their own higher power that they question to. The answer to. Sorry.
And who would the higher power for the deep state be while they're working in the U.S. government, where Trump can appoint and can hire and fire them at will? He can get rid of FBI agents.
I think.
So who would?
I think it's the same people that got rid of Jeff Epstein and had
But
Ghislaine
you just
Maxwell
said
have
that
her.
you just gave Trump credit for getting rid of those people.
No, no, forget. He still didn't get rid of him. I said he's trying to get rid of him, and he's not succeeded yet, but he's still trying.
They're dead. Epstein is deceased. What else
No, no,
can he
no, no.
do to get rid of?
No, not get rid of them. What I'm trying to say is that he's trying to drain the swamp through them, not get rid of. No, no, I'm not trying to tell you that he tried to get rid of Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
You've brought Epstein up several times. The man is deceased. I'm trying to figure out what
Exactly.
point are you trying to make. Okay, so are you giving Trump credit for the demise of Epstein?
No, what I'm trying to say is Jeff Epstein was Donald Trump's smoking gun at the beginning when he brought him to. I think he brought him to light, like in a certain way, in a subliminal way. Brought him to light and said, "You know what, guys? This is the guy that's been doing all this stuff. You know, he's
So
gonna
you
he's
are
gonna
giving
spill
him
the tea."
credit. I don't. You're saying you're
No,
not
no,
giving
no,
him
no. I'm
credit, but
not giving him credit for. I'm giving him credit because he brought light to Jeff Epstein so he could bring out all the sex trafficking and all the bad things that happened with the politicians.
okay. And since Epstein, has he gotten rid of anybody else?
I'm not saying that he got rid of Jeff Epstein. I'm saying that he brought him to light. He did not. I don't know who got rid of Jeff Epstein. That's the thing.
Okay. I'm just asking because you started out by bringing this guy up. So obviously
Yeah,
I'm asking you in regards to Trump draining the swamp and Epstein comes out of your mouth. To me, it sounds like you're giving Trump credit for draining Epstein. But I'm going to go back to the original question here. Who, in regards to draining the swamp, give me somebody that Trump drained out of 4 years in office.
he didn't. Nobody. Not yet.
Okay. So he failed at that.
He's still trying. I still don't think he failed. I think that's why they're on to him right now
Okay.
because
All right.
he's still in the process of trying.
Okay. All right. We'll see what happens. I mean, he may get elected in 2024, and maybe the American public will give him a second chance to continue trying. But I got to move the program on, man. Appreciate you coming back to a second time. But I got to move the program on, man.
All
Appreciate
right.
you coming back to a second time. All right. And he's always welcome back. By the way, we don't have to agree. Somebody said Trump has no power. That's fine. I think Trump should step aside. I want to say, I think Trump should step aside and endorse a candidate who wholeheartedly for the greater good. You know, you're not the first to say it, but there's not enough of you. You seen, I asked the caller before him, if it came down to Trump running against DeSantis, and he obviously supported Trump fairly passionately, and most MAGA folks, Trump over
Hey,
DeSantis any
buddy.
day. So, good evening, sir.
What are you doing?
Turning black as the sun sets. So I'm not going to be able to be seen much longer, but
Well, that's
what's on
okay.
your mind this evening?
So I talked to you the other day and we were talking about the economy, and you asked me when the economy had been better at what point than Biden has it now. And I had told you back in 1945. And then you had told me that America was never great for black people then because of racism. And I had told you, yes, but I'm strictly talking about the economy. So I went
Okay.
and did some research. And did you know that in 1940, this was before civil rights, this was before anybody got the right to vote that was black or anything else. Did you
Right.
know in 1940 that black people had 87% of the population above the poverty level? And that by 1960, that had dropped by 40% down to 47%. Now, this was all
Wait a
before
minute.
civil
Wait a
rights.
minute. Wait a minute. You're telling me out of everybody in America, African Americans represented 87% of the population
That's
above the
not what I
poverty
said.
level.
I said out of the
Okay,
black
clarify it.
population,
Clarify it for me.
80 out of Americans, the black population, 87% of the black population was living over the poverty level. And then in 20 years by 1960, that number halved by 40%. So then the number was 47% of black people were above
Okay.
the poverty level in 1960. Now, the
All right.
reason why I bring this up is the point is that in 1945, even though civil rights and we're talking about race and things, as far as the economy was concerned, everybody was doing better.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to tell you, I would have to see the evidence of what you're stating from the 1940s because that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But in addition
And
to
it
that,
doesn't for
go
me
ahead.
either. No, I'm just saying
No,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but it also doesn't make sense to me either, because if we're not dealing with the civil rights issue, then what can we look back and say that happened from 1940 to 1960? That's only 20 years.
I think what we could say that happened from 1940 is that somebody lied in the history books, if you ask me. When you look at the fact that most upper level jobs, even middle management jobs, are totally off limits to African Americans. They couldn't even go to a lot of colleges and even get an education. The fact that they're going to be above the poverty level, there's no way I'm gonna buy that. I'd have to see.
87%.
I'd have to see the source. I'd have to
87%.
see the source.
Sure.
Huh?
I mean, you go back to the FBI, I believe, that you love so much. They got the shit.
Yeah. I would love to see the source of that. If you will,
Go
I got
check
an
that
email
out, and
address
we'll
on
talk
my
about that later.
profile.
I'm just going to drop that one thing on you. And I did want to say, as far as what Trump has exposed, he exposed the idea that there is an organization which is untouched by evil is absurd. That means the left, the right, the church where you live, the
Trump
KKK, Black
himself.
Lives
So
Matter, every
based
single
on your
one.
based on your statement, that would mean Trump himself is not untouched by evil, correct?
And wherever you find a human heart, you'll find evil in that heart.
Okay, fair point. I don't argue with that.
If we're on that level.
I tend to agree that
If
anybody
we're
is
talking
capable.
about everybody. Now, who did he
Okay.
expose? Some people will say he exposed himself, but he also exposed Lindsey Graham. He also exposed Comey. He also exposed Pence. He also exposed other people that looked at, and they knew. We knew that they were turncoats. And that's when we realized at the federal level that the FBI and all that shit, they didn't go after Hillary Clinton and look at them emails. If they're so up, and we're talking about what a great person this is, they sure didn't go talk about all that corruption. And that's a whole
So
different can of worms.
So my question to you, if everything you're saying is correct and he exposed all of this, how are we better off as a nation considering all of these people are still walking around free and many of them are still in power?
Exactly.
He's so we got
You're
nothing out
right
of
on
it.
time.
Okay.
People think
Yeah,
that
so in
he's
other
going to be
words,
a savior and come back in 2024 and do what? He was the sitting president. If let's pretend for 2 seconds that it was the election was ripped off and that he really did get screwed. This man was the sitting president, and they let him pull the. They want you to believe on the TV that they pulled the rug out from underneath the most powerful man in the free world. Somehow they got it away from him and ripped him off. If it's true, do you really think that when he goes back to that federal level, that corruption is still not going to be there? It's still not going to be the
right.
exact same thing. Here it is 2 years later, and we're still talking about this man.
Well, and see, let me turn I'm in my damn car. It's gotten so dark out. But see, he didn't promise to expose criminals or swamp creatures. He promised to drain them. So if you see Lindsey Graham as a swamp creature, his promise to drain Lindsey Graham has been an utter failure because Lindsey Graham is still walking around as a Republican,
Let me tell you something.
showing up at Trump rallies, by the way. Lindsey
And
Graham
then
is
goes
still out
back
there
to the
promoting
Democrats and
Trump.
talks shit about him. What does Ted Cruz do? I'm from Texas down here. What's Ted Cruz do? He wants to talk real tough in front of all the Republicans. Then he goes in front of the Democrats and he does whatever they want to do. And see, that's the whole
So,
problem with this whole thing, is that everybody doesn't put America first. We elect these officials. We want to blame one guy, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's whoever. But that's not the truth. What you just said is the reality of it. They're all so corrupt. And you know what? They didn't get drained. It just got drained down enough to where you could see what it really was. And if you didn't
yeah.
come and see what it was after that, and if you was on the left or the right, you saw what it was. Some people took delight in it and said, oh, look, if they're turning on him like dominoes, and they like that shit. But even those people, if you were smart, it couldn't escape the fact that these people, it doesn't make sense. Have you ever been on the block? I'm from the hood. And in the hood, when we got one dope dealer on the block, we don't like they
I
don't
was
like it when
born
another
on the
dope.
block.
All right, they
I
don't
was
like it
born
when
on the
another
block.
dope man come on the block from a big city and start selling dope in they hood. Okay, so what I think it
Okay.
was. All right, so if Trump was a big drug dealer, a big dirty corrupt person, and Nancy Pelosi's a big drug dealer, dirty corrupt person, and all these people are dirty, you would think that when they got him in there, oh, here comes the man. He made a whole career out of being dirty. He's made millions of dollars. He's going to show us all how to screw over the system even more. Except for when you go look at the influx of money from China, he stopped that. He stopped their dope money. So he had to go. I kept wondering, why do they hate this man so bad? And then
So
you go look
why
at
would
that money from
you,
China.
if you're admitting he didn't drain anyone, why would you want him back in 2024? You want a repeat
Listen
performance
to
of
me.
that?
Listen to me. What I'm telling you is it on the federal level, we are so corrupt. There is no president being on the right or the left. Me, you, nobody can go in there and run a clean show for the American people. Nobody
Then
can. It's
why?
impossible.
Wait. Let's say if what you're saying is true, we're so corrupt, nobody can do. Why did he make all of these promises that even you know he could never deliver on? Why did he do that?
What do you mean? Give me an example.
You just said we are so corrupt that you can't drain the swamp. All you can do is
That has
expose it
nothing to
and
do
all
with
this.
Trump. He was in there 4 years. These corrupt people have been in there 40 years. I need you to
That's what
understand that.
that ain't what I'm asking you. That what you're saying. We know that these people been in there a lifetime. He knew they have been in there a lifetime. So why did he make a promise that he could get rid of them and drain the swamp if even you knew they've been in there a lifetime and America's so corrupt that's not going to be able to happen? Why would he promise something that he could not deliver?
Why did Biden say he was going to
That
forgive
ain't
all
what we're
student debt to
talking
get
about
higher? You
Biden
know,
right
why
now,
does
though.
any politician say anything? Why does anybody
Okay,
say anything to get the votes?
okay, but wait a minute. I agree politicians will lie their asses off to get votes. But Trump was voted in because he's not a typical politician. So why are you comparing him to politicians now?
I'm simply saying you have to look at the reason why they hated him so bad. Go back and
That
look.
ain't what I'm
If he
asking you
wasn't a
though.
politician, why would you hate somebody so bad that's not a politician?
Okay, I'm asking you why would he make promises that he couldn't keep when you're talking about Biden and
I'm
other
telling you,
folks?
you're getting hung up on politician promises that people make to get votes into, so people will listen to what they say. I mean,
So
people want to be an
in other
important person.
words,
Of course,
so
he
in other
wants
words,
every president's going to tell you all your dreams are going to come true.
right. So in other words, you're admitting that just like a typical politician, Trump lied to get votes.
Right. And if you're on the right or the left, I don't know where it says a two-party system in the Constitution. So here's how I can prove to you what I'm fixing to tell you. I just need you to hear me out 1 second. We have
Sure.
politicians that we have elected that do not have our best interest in mind. We have baby formula for other countries. We have barrels of oil for other countries. We have weapons of war for other countries that all of our taxpayers spend to send to other countries. We have veterans that are down there underneath the bridge, and we're arguing if we need $650,000 worth of work pool improvements, so we give our veterans some health care. And it's not a clout chase, it's nothing like that. But I'm real big on putting America first. So no matter if you're a politician, if you're a businessman, if you're whatever the hell you are, ain't all I want to say is they don't really care about us. You know what I'm saying?
But, but you know
And
something
that
though,
goes
it's
for
interesting.
all of us.
Okay. Let me say this, and it's interesting. I don't disagree with a lot of stuff you said, particularly how our veterans are doing. Certainly, right now they just passed this protection from folks who died in burn pits and things like that. Would you not agree that
Well,
the
sir, you're
veterans are
wrong. You're
suffering?
wrong, sir. That's a lie. That's a lie. I did the research. Elizabeth Warren wants $1.6 million for a woke shellfish program, which I don't even know what that is. There's a
Okay, what about the? Okay,
$650,000
okay.
allowance
Let
for
me
a
stop
woke
you.
school for
Let,
six.
let me stop you. Let me just ask you this: take away all the pork that you're talking about that's in the bill. I get it. When it comes to veterans suffering from burn pits, do you think the veterans are telling the truth and saying that they were not getting help after experiencing issues from burn pits? Do you think they were
I
telling the
feel
truth
like that
about that?
the last president had it set up where that veterans didn't have to go to the VA and wait on those lists. They could go to whatever doctors they wanted to. But Biden killed that shit as soon as he came into office. But we don't want to talk
So,
about that.
so you're saying veterans under President Trump were quite happy? They didn't have any issues under Trump. They got them under
I
Biden.
didn't say they didn't have any issues, but they could go to their own doctor.
Okay, but what up this burn pit issue? Did that not exist under Trump? Why is that being? Why are they
Okay,
outcrying
look, I
about that
see
now?
somebody
Did
saying
that?
in the comments this too. Guess what? Trump's dead. We don't care as Americans, even Republicans, conversationalists, if he makes it or if he don't. If he goes to prison or he don't, he's just a catalyst. He's a boat. We don't care if it's that Gabbard lady that's a Democrat over there on your side. We don't care if it's Boebert. We don't care if it's DeSantis. We don't care who it is. You see, the problem that people don't like about Americans, there's one thing, one commodity that America has left, and that's fucking Americans. Why do you think that they want to hire 87,000 IRS agents? We have 15 million hunting permits last year. 15
Okay,
million hunting permits last year.
let me interrupt you and say this. You said that we don't really care if it's Tulsi Gabbard or Trump or whatever. You really want just the country to go on the right path. When you say you really don't care if it's Trump or Tulsi, I don't really see any Tulsi Gabbard or Biden or even Ron DeSantis flags flying anywhere. I see Trump flags all over Middle America flying in people's houses. Why are you
Where's the Biden
suggesting that they
flag?
don't? Wait a
Where's all the
minute.
Biden flags?
I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to ask you a question. If they don't care, the voters do not care if it's Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, or whoever. Why are they flying all of these Trump flags if they don't care?
Well, being as Trump wasn't the politician, he's always aligned as the people's champ. One thing about Trump is, even if you knew him
So
before,
they do
I'm
care
43
then.
years old. I don't know how
They
old you
do
are. I'm
care.
43 years old. Okay, and I
Okay.
remember back in the day when Trump in interviews and stuff, when he would be on The View and he would be on different things that they would have him on, he would always try to. One of the reasons I never liked Trump, first of all, was the way he treated women, and second, was the way that he always tried to align himself with the common working man. That's been his spiel from day one. He knows what it's like to be us, and he ain't never known what it's like to be us. Okay, but riding on that hook. He's riding on that hook and the businessman. And if you ever watch wrestling, Trump's the heel. Trump's Ric Flair. They come in, they boo him. Nobody likes him. He's getting shit done. Oldest ride, longest line. Woo! You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what it is with Trump. Where they fucked up is whoever put Trump up in control, whoever it was, because we all know he just didn't get there by magic. Okay? Any president since 1963. They showed them brains laying on the ground down there in Daily Plaza, and they said, we gonna have any trouble out of you, or you gonna do just what we tell you to do? No, sir, I'm gonna do exactly what you tell me to do. And that's been ever since that happened. And if you
Well,
think
I
different,
can't.
if you
Yeah,
think
I
that the
can't.
last 40, 50, 60 years of anything you saw was true, then they got to you. If you're on the right, they got to you. If you're on the left, they got to you. What
Okay.
we need
All
to
right.
do is dissolve this two-party system, quit pointing fingers at each other. And me and you, brother, we got to go march. We got to go handle our business and do what we got to do. And what we do is we remove the people, either by voting or by force, that are not representing us. Does that make sense? That are representing other countries and not representing our vets and not representing. That is not
What
tyranny
if?
against
Wait a
your
minute. Wait a
country. That
minute.
is
What
defending
if?
your country against tyranny.
What if MAGA, my beloved MAGA, what if MAGA thinks that Trump is representing us and I don't? How can I march with them?
MAGA is a left and right wing ideology all made up by Soros to make us all fight. It's all bullshit.
Whoa, whoa! You said MAGA is organized by George Soros?
Yeah, it's all part of the wrestling.
Oh,
WWF.
I was
Hey,
about to
I can
move on until you said
hey,
that.
I can prove Trump was in on it all. You want to know how I know? You want me to prove
I
Trump was
need
in on
to
it
know.
too?
I need. Tell me
You're gonna
something,
love
Joe.
this.
I need to
Now,
know. I need to
now look,
know.
you're gonna love this. Okay, look, I
Damn
know
right
I'm
I am.
right
Go.
because everybody on the right says no, you're wrong, and everybody on the left says no, you're wrong, and that's how I know I'm right on time. Okay, so
All
here you
right.
go.
All right.
On your cell
Good
phone,
talking to
on
you.
your
I gotta
hang
move it
on, wait,
on,
one more
man.
thing, one more thing. Give me one
Real
more.
quick. Go for it.
All right, on January 6th. On the stuff that happened. I call it the perfect storm, okay? Because anybody who was anybody could have got in that day and dressed in whatever they wanted to, no matter what side you was on, and done whatever you wanted to do. And if it got caught in the camera a certain way, well, you got down for the get down. That could have been
Just
Antifa,
like,
that could have been Trump, that
yeah.
could have been anybody. Okay. Now, if we
Just
agree with
like
that,
right.
okay.
Just like at any
There you
Black
go.
Lives
Yes,
Matter
sir.
rally.
Yes,
It
sir.
could be
Yes, sir.
Black Lives Matter, it could be
Sure.
MAGA, it could be white supremacists. I agree with you. Gotta go.
Exactly.
Gotta go. All
Uh,
right. Right. Okay. Real quick, guys. It's a hell of a lot of you guys in here. So I just want to let you know you're always welcome in the box. I'm not ending the live, however, I'm going to move it into my little makeshift. You know what? You know where you see me at because the lighting in here is pathetic, and I'd like to be able to actually see the comments and things like that. So give me about 10 minutes or so, and I do apologize to those of you who are in the box, but I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Go ahead and do that. And we'll continue talking because now that I know that MAGA is actually a project of George Soros, we got to talk. Catch you guys in a minute. George Soros organized MAGA. Learn something new every day.